Hey, Conkit, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Ronan. It's starting in a bit.
You what?
Are you ready?
Always ready,
Yes,
mate. I was born
ready.
ready. Like I tell my 5-year-old every day in the morning, every day. I was born ready. Let's get on with it. I see we're going live on Facebook today. That's a new one. When did you guys start doing that?
Today, for you.
Oh, great. What channel is that on? That's on the L2 Facebook channel, is it?
No, it's on our organizer Facebook. I'll announce that in a bit.
Okay, cool. Wow, 28,000 ringgit contributed, and there's another 3,500 in my fundraiser. So we got over 30,000 ringgit already committed to the Caring and Sharing campaign. That's great. The good thing with the Facebook Live is anybody who can't join today, they can always go back and watch the video whenever they like. I was watching a European Chamber of Commerce presentation yesterday. It was great because it was recorded on Facebook Live, so you could sit back and watch it whenever you wanted.
Yeah, okay, Ronan, let's get started. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to day 27 of L2 construction series. Good morning, everyone. I'm Hongkit. Together with me is Loon, my host partner. I hope everyone is doing well at home. Before I start, I want to announce that today's session is being streamed live on our organizer's Facebook. Our audience now has an additional option, either to see us from Zoom or Facebook platform. Our primary platform remains this Zoom meeting, however. As you can see at L2 Construction, we walk the talk in staying progressive and constantly exploring various IT technologies to reach more people. Talking about technologies, our guest today, Ronan Collins, is a specialist in that. This is Ronan's second appearance on L2 Construction Series. First time last week as the president of Lighthouse Club, sharing with us about community work. Today, he is wearing a different hat as the head of project information of Gamuda. Ronan, can you please introduce yourself again to the audience and then carry on with your presentation, please?
Sure. Thanks, Kit. And thanks to everybody L2 for organizing and hosting this today and for making it possible for everybody to join. And it's great to see 200 people here on a Saturday morning. I'm Irish. Been living in Malaysia for 4 years already. I'm married to a fantastic lady from Ipoh. My wife's Malaysian Chinese, an ex-international squash player representing Malaysia in many different levels. And we are living in Malaysia. I have a 5-year-old boy. He's in school in Bangsar. Well, he's doing homeschooling at the moment. And I work for Gamuda. I'm head of information management or project information management, which is a spin on building information management. And it covers all of our projects, including construction projects, engineering projects, tunneling projects, highways projects, and all of our property development projects at Gamuda Land. So I'm responsible for all of the information management systems in our organization. So this morning's presentation, if you could just skip on the next slide there, please, Honkit. So I'm going to focus this morning on a couple of the people that are working in our organization and how they have adopted and used technology to improve their work, to improve their productivity, and to improve safety in construction. So this gentleman here is a gentleman called John Lim. John is one of our graduates. He's we put him through our training program. He went to the UK, he studied in the UK, he came back with a first-class honours degree. And he's currently a plant manager for Gamuda, and here you can see him in the tunnels. The reason I took this photograph was we were exploring how to use QR codes for tracking of elements of the work, whether it's the precast elements for the concrete lining, whether it's the machinery. And to be honest, we're now actually looking at using QR codes for even tracking of our workforce in these COVID-19 times. So John is a young guy, very, very technical, very smart, and loves technology. So next slide, please. For those of you who have not attended this, I'm relying on Honkit to keep pressing buttons, so please bear with us while I keep telling him the same thing over and over. So I went to see John and to discuss QR codes, and while we were talking, I was in the tunnel control room. This is a picture from the TBM control room, and I was curious because as an engineer, I'm always curious about what's happening and what these things are doing, and I was curious about some of the technology. And John pointed out very casually that his project was to look at coming up with some software to control the tunneling of the tunneling operations in terms of drilling and excavating underground. And I asked a few more questions, and it became very obvious that John and his team had written some very complicated and very clever technology in terms of software to control the tunnel boring machine. So instead of relying on a tunnel boring machine operator underground, we now have software that automates the tunneling operation for the machines, and it controls the direction of the drive, it controls the speed of the drive, it monitors the material coming back, it monitors the pressures. And what we've discovered is substantial productivity gains in terms of the direction of the tunneling machine, in terms of the speed of the tunneling machine, in terms of the efficiency. So John and his team, young engineers, smart people, came up with some very clever technology. Next slide. And they were rewarded just recently with a recognition by the ITA, which is the International Tunneling Association, for having developed the first self-driving or autonomous tunnel boring machine. So we're very, very proud of Justin, John, and his team for accomplishing this worldwide recognized achievement. So this is the kind of initiative that we push in Gamuda. We are looking for bright people, and we're looking for opportunity to give them a chance to innovate. And this is what construction technology is all about. So this is one example, and the rest of my presentation is based on the same theme, highlighting the people doing the work. So next slide, please. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what people think is BIM. This is an architectural model for one of the stations. This is a civil structural model. This is an MEP model. And you can see the complexity of these models and the detail in these models. They also include the systems models, and then you can see this is what it all looks like when it's combined. This is what people think of when they say BIM. They think of 3D models, they think of 3D coordination models, and this is, to be honest, the tip of the iceberg. So what people don't realize is that there is a huge amount of information in these models. So if we go to the next slide. So the challenge with the models is to take each individual station and use the models for coordination. Now, in COVID-19 and post-COVID-19, getting the coordination done and the engineering done ahead of the construction works is going to become more and more crucial, because we will not have time or resource to solve problems on site. And it would be more and more difficult for us to call up engineers and get them to come to site in the current environment. So we are putting massive restrictions on our sites in terms of the numbers of people, the amount of access, the numbers of visitors. So it's not going to be possible to have a whole bunch of engineers walking around site solving problems. So BIM is going to become a very important part of solving engineering coordination issues. So next slide there, please. So we make sure that we enable our people to innovate, whether that's on site or whether in the coordination offices or in the design offices. And this is just an introductory slide. Next one, please. So these are the people that do the work. So Rahimi is the gentleman standing on the right. Faiz is the gentleman beside him. And then the two ladies are part of their team. And these were photographs taken at a recent exhibition where we asked the staff who were doing the work to go down, show people how to use drones, show people how to use Navisworks, show people how to use GIS, so that the people who were doing the work could meet and interact with people in the industry. So these are not salespeople, these are not frontline marketing people, these are the actual engineers doing the work. And they learned from the questions they were getting what they could do and everything else. So we want to acknowledge Rahimi and his team for the work that they've done. Go to the next slide. So Rahimi has set up this process of how we actually coordinate and collaborate with the models. So this picture is actually taken from a virtual design review meeting where the engineers are actually going through the models, identifying design issues, identifying coordination issues, and working with our construction managers to make sure that these things are buildable. The gentleman in the yellow shirt with his back to you is actually a gentleman called Yap, who has left KL recently, but was the MRT's interface manager. So you can see that the MRT were taking an active role in these meetings as well. Next. So these meetings tend to identify coordination issues, and I've taken two severe examples here to show you what kind of things come up in the models. But you can see in this example pipework clashing with ductwork, and you can see cable trays in the wrong place. This was the cable trays in the wrong place due to a combination of misinterpretation of drawings and a massive change in the position of the escalators. Our job is to find those issues and to resolve them. And I'll tell you now, it's very easy to find these problems in three-dimensional models. It's quite complicated to get them fixed and resolved before construction. Next slide. So this is how we do it. So we have a process where we identify every issue. Every issue is tracked with a number, so it's unique, so we can find it. Every issue is assigned to a coordinator to resolve it. And then the responsibility is on that coordinator to meet with the architects, the engineers, the technicians, and get solutions to the problems that have been identified. and we typically give them a week to 2 weeks to solve the problems. So we have a process which allows us to use these 3D models to identify an issue, track it, and get it closed out. Effectively, we're using good principles of project management to do coordination and detailing. Next slide, please. So one of the technologies that we're using is a cloud-based technology where, if you can imagine, we have 27 sites on the underground MRT project. Every one of those sites has a different coordination team. They have different computer models. They've got different coordination issues. We wanted to be able to track all of the issues and identify where they all are. So we're using an online cloud system, and this is where technology is very, very important. Again, in relation to COVID-19, cloud technologies, data centers are going to become fundamentally essential to the work we're doing. And if you go to the next slide, what we're doing is we're tracking every single issue for every single station, for every single person that's doing work. So we have a dashboard on a cloud-based platform, and I can ask that system how many issues are in one location, how many issues are 2 weeks unresolved, how many are more than 2 weeks unresolved, how many issues does Ronan have to resolve, how many issues does Dermot have to resolve. So we can actually go through this system and identify and track all the issues and manage and monitor what's going on. So this is an important part of the process, is that don't rely, if you have a team working in BIM, it's very important that whatever issues are being resolved, whatever issues are being discussed, that they are actually shared amongst the team. And a lot of people don't use models. A lot of people don't use these tools like Revit or Navisworks or even AutoCAD. So you have to use these kind of online cloud dashboards with literally JPEG images and say, this is what has to be fixed. And the key to this is assigning it to somebody to fix. And you can see all the different names on the screen of who they were assigned to fix. Okay, next slide. So in going on with the cloud theme, one of the systems that we've put in place on all of our projects is this notion of a common data environment, which is a fancy term for a cloud-based folder structure. So all the files that we use, all the information that we manage, all the drawings coming in, all the reports being shared, all the information has been approved, is distributed and shared through a cloud system. And in the case of the MRT, we're dealing with offices in KL, in numerous locations, in Singapore, in the Philippines, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, and we've got offices in India, in Calcutta and in Delhi. So we've got staff working in this project scattered all over the world. So we need to have a robust information management system. If you go to the next slide, please. And we're not talking about a small amount of information. There's 250,000 drawings on this platform. There's 75,000 different files for the BIM system alone. We've got over 700 users, and we track all of the information and all of the movement of information. So every user has their own account. We can tell you how many times they've logged in. We can tell you when they last logged in. We can tell you what files they've looked at. We can tell you what files they've downloaded. We can tell you who created what files and who approved what drawings. So the system gives us a management capability for information that is crucial for these projects. And it's all on the cloud. So this is not sitting on a server in a head office somewhere. This is all based on cloud technology. Next slide, please. And this list just tells you what's on the system. So we start off with building the models. We very often create design visualizations such as videos, etc. We use the federated models for the design reviews. We have all of our coordination issues and their trackers, all the drawings, the schedules, and the equipment lists, and then we have a link to GIS, which I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is collect all of the data or information for the MRT to manage these facilities. And now it's not just the MRT. So the slide jumped on. Thank you very much, Honkit. You will see here Nick Moorcock in the middle of this picture, and he's standing between two gentlemen from the BRE, the Building Research Establishment of the UK. Nick and his team, which includes Rahimi and John Lim and the guys, got recognition towards the end of last year for the systems that we've put in place on the MRT. These systems are information management systems, and this is a BRE certificate that we're actually BIM Level 2 compliant. So a big congratulations to Nick and his team for doing it. And the important point here is it's the people that get this to work. It's not about which software we use. It's not about which cloud platform we use. It's about how we get these people to work together and create these systems. Next slide, please. So I want to show you some other technology that we're using in relation to information management. Here you can see Faiz controlling a drone. This is we call these prosumer drones. So these can be bought by consumers, but they can also be used for professional work. This is a DJI Phantom 4. These have now been replaced by a more modern platform. And the most important thing in this image is the fact that there are two people in charge of this drone. So Faiz is operating it. His colleague is a spotter, and he's watching and making sure that everything is safe. And you can see that we've actually got some pretty simple cones and barriers, but that's actually a dedicated drone operating space. So that's where the drone takes off from and where it lands. Next slide. So Faiz works with Mr. Pois, who's the chief surveyor for all of Gamuda, and Tony Joseph, who is our GIS and operations development manager. And these are the two guys who have been leading the team to make sure that we can connect what we've done in the design office with BIM to the construction field. So you can see here a gentleman using an iPad as part of our digital system. And again, you can see John Lim, he's actually using virtual reality as part of a training program. So we go to the next slide. So this is one example of how drones can be used. This is not an image. This is a 3D model of the construction site at Titiwangsa. And this is a 3D model that was generated on a month-by-month basis. So what we're doing here is we're actually creating records for the construction of the actual construction project using a drone survey. Now, we haven't got time today to go through all the drone information. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a link to my LinkedIn profile. And we have a very detailed case study there that you can read or look up on, and there's a lot of video footage of how we do it. But essentially what we're doing is we're flying a drone over an entire area of a construction site, taking hundreds and hundreds of photographs, and then we use those photographs to generate a 3D model. So this model can then be used for measurement, it can be used for calculating areas, we can use it for measuring volume, we can use it for counting, so we can count the material that's on the site, we can do volume estimations in terms of spoil, in terms of storage, we can count the number of machines. So we're using the drones to create these accurate 3D models on a month by month and now even more frequent basis. So in the world of post-COVID-19 or post the MCO, we will make more use of these drones to capture more information. And the reason we're doing that is, you go to the next slide. We can then compare what we've planned with what's actually happening. So this is, again, going back to BIM, this is what we call a 4-dimensional model, where we've actually linked the construction schedule to the elements in the 3D model that's been produced by the BIM team. So in this case, you can see in Chan Sao Lin how we've planned out the construction sequence for the base slabs, the walls, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the planning that gets done. If you go to the next slide, please, Honkit. So what you're going to see now is a series of images where the gray is a 3D model generated by the drone, and you can see an image of that in the top right corner. And the yellow is the BIM model. So what we're able to do is we're able to combine the surveys that are being done by the drones with the models that have been generated by the engineers for design and coordination. And we can start to do checks against what's being constructed and what is actually being designed to be constructed. And in this example, this is actually from Chan Sao Lin. We were all completely amazed when we started doing this work, how accurate the survey is from the drones, and how, relatively speaking, easy it is to link the two data sets together. So this enables us to actually do some quite complicated surveys, some quite complicated checks to make sure that what's happening on site is actually aligning with and correlating with what's happening in the models in terms of what's intended to happen. So this is the overlap between drones and operations on site and the engineers using BIM in the design office. Next slide. So in this example, I just want to quickly show you another overlap. So again, the drones can be used to create what we call isometric or orthographic photographs, true two-dimensional images of the ground, which is far higher quality than what you get from Google Earth or some of the other platforms. And the team that were working on this project have linked 3 different sets of information here together. This is a GIS platform. So this is an internet-based, cloud-based platform. If you have a login identification, you can get in and see this platform. The photograph of the ground is from drone footage. So this is actually from a whole series of photographs which have been edited to create this orthomosaic image. And then the blue and the red is the actual tunneling operations which are taking place underground. And this is the real-time position of the tunnel boring machine in the city. And we have this for all the operating machines. So you can log into this dashboard. You can see in real time where the tunnel machines are, what they're under, what they're adjacent to, and you can see the times and the installation for all the rings. So what's happening here is the information that's on our system, we're taking 3 different threads and combining them to create something that's useful to the project managers. So we're combining GIS, drone information, and real-time information coming from the TBMs. Next slide, please. So again, this is Nick Moorcock and myself. We were honored last year to go down to Singapore to a award ceremony for Bentley, and Bentley gave us the prize for our use of drones. And we've made it very clear since the time myself and Nick went down there that the award is not for me and him. The award is for FIA's, his team, Mr. Poa and his team, for all the work they've done. We went down there simply because I was seen as a competent presenter, and we wanted to make sure we did the best job possible to win the award, and we were successful. So we're very happy to celebrate what the team have done. And this is an international award, which is presented by the people providing the technology. So we're very proud of the work that FIA's and Poa and his team have done. Next one. So now coming into the real interesting part of what's happening. So the other team that's here, this is the digital forms team, or basically we call this Field View as a system that we're using. And you can see David Kong, you can see John Lim again, John keeps popping up. And these are the staff that have been trained to use and roll out digital forms, not just for the underground, but for the entire Gamuda operation. So we're now using a digital form system across all of our operations. If you go to the next slide, please. So what we're doing is we're trying to replace paper, and I use the word wrongly. We're not trying, we are doing it. We're replacing paper on all of our sites for permits, for approvals, for inspections, for quality control, for records. So in this example, you can see that the operator can take a photograph, they can fill in information, they can identify where the form was completed in terms of a location map, so we can go back and look what happened in certain locations. And we have deployed, this slide was done a year ago, so we've deployed over 200 and something, maybe 250 tablets, and these can be iOS devices, these can be Android devices, it doesn't matter. And we've got now over 2,000 users on the system. If you go to the next slide, the system is being used across all the locations for all of these inspections and approvals and monitoring. So we're doing it for safety, we're doing it for site reporting, we're doing it for defects, we're doing it for safety and health, we're doing it for inspections, and we're doing it for progress monitoring. The important part of this is what is currently going on and what we're currently working on in relation to COVID-19. In order for us to operate in the current environment, we have to maintain very accurate logs of what's happening on our sites in terms of the people that are there, their health, their temperatures. So we're actually now setting up to use these forms to actually digitally record all of the workers coming and going from our sites, and managing and using these systems to record their temperature and their health condition, to make sure that we are looking after our staff and that we're complying with the Ministry for Health and CIDB regulations for logging of workers on site. Next slide, please. And this is how the system works from a technology perspective. So the interface on site basically is captured, all the data is captured, and information is then put onto a cloud system, in this case a Viewpoint platform. And what we've been working on over the last couple of months is to use business analytics, systems like IBM Cognos, Tableau, even Microsoft Business Analytics, to create dashboards to be able to interpret and report what's happening on site. So we're currently doing a lot of research with the teams to figure out how best to present the data that we have coming in on site and make it a reporting tool to the construction managers, the project directors, and even all the way back into head office in terms of the financial controllers. So we're now setting up the process where information that's been captured digitally on site is available to the team all the way across the organization. So, and that's all cloud-based. And again, we believe that that system will enable us to have less people on site. It'll enable us to be able to capture more information. And because it's digital, it's contactless. So there's going to be a lot less paper moving around. There's going to be a lot less opportunity for people to get into trouble, let's say. Next slide, please. So here's the challenge, and this will hopefully lead to our Q&A. I'm a little bit over time, but we're not too far off the mark. So here's the challenge. We believe that training is fundamentally crucial. So just click on it again there, Honkit. We'll get the rest up on the screen. We don't train enough people, and that's not anybody's particular fault. There are a number of challenges. Our industry is very, very commercial. It's very much driven by reducing costs, reducing overheads, and the first thing that gets thrown out is training. So in order to address some of that, we have training programs, and we have a culture of sharing information as much as we can. So if you look me up on LinkedIn, and I think at this point, most people in this call already follow me on LinkedIn already, you will see that we post regular articles, regular videos, and we record most of these presentations and share them with people that are not able to take part in the actual presentation. So you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on LinkedIn, and you can find us on Facebook. And we recommend that if you want to follow what Gamuda are doing and you want to learn about some of the systems, follow us. More importantly, if you want to get more information, I will always be happy to speak to you, to speak to your colleagues, do presentations to your firms, and share as much knowledge as we can. because we believe that we need to create more learning and more opportunity for people to become digitally competent. So that's it for me in terms of a prepared presentation. And now I'm going to hand back to Loon and Honkit for Q&A. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ronan, for that very insightful presentation. I have a couple of questions about BIM for you, Ronan. Now, you see, for the implementation of BIM, you need extensive training, and it's going to be very costly, but it's not necessarily able to bring in more profits to the company.
Right.
So is it financially viable for construction projects in Malaysia in that sense?
Okay, so let me correct a few myths, first of all. The first myth that has to be corrected is we're not trying to retrain new people or find new ways of doing things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take existing skill sets and enhance them. So all of the people I've showcased in my presentation are not BIM people. They're surveyors, they're coordination engineers, they're plant managers. The surveyors were trained to use drones. We didn't bring in drone pilots, we trained our own people. So the trick to making BIM successful, because it's not going away. So the digitization of the construction industry is not going to go away. The trick that we have learned is to make people responsible, give them the training that they require, which is not very much in most cases, and give them the tools that they need. And when you start to look at it, you don't have to spend vast sums of money. People get this myth that they have to go and buy very complicated software and they need very complicated systems and they need lots and lots of people. You can take the current systems you have and start to build up capacity, build up capability. We're not looking for everybody to suddenly turn on a light switch and go from doing paper to doing digital. And the second part is you need to make these systems simple to use for the guys on site. So the digital form system that we have is very, very simple for the guys who are actually interacting with it at the front end. There's a lot of very clever stuff happening at the back end that they don't need to worry about. So you have to make it simple for people to use. And I can tell you now, on all of the construction projects where we've implemented the digital forms, nobody wants to go back to paper because it is faster, it is more efficient, it is easier, the guys can do more work. We've got a much better handle on who's on the site, where they are, what's going on. So once you start to digitize, the value is far, far higher than the cost of implementation. And it's just getting people off the fence and into the game is a challenge. So there's a lot of misconceptions about how expensive this is, and there's a lot of people going around touting it's always too expensive. That's not the problem.
I see. Ronan, you see, for the implementation or successful implementation of BIM, you need a lot of people to collaborate with, and you need them to really join into the BIM system in order for it to be successful. Let's say, for example, in a particular project that you are involving you are the main contractor. What if the architect or a particular consultant is not willing to implement or participate in the BIM system?
I'll find somebody else.
All right. I mean, if you have that kind of uncooperative person in the system, who participate in the project, now how do you actually resolve that? Would BIM still be useful in that situation?
Well, okay. So here's the thing. So if we want to initiate a project where we want to have the entire project coordinated in 3 dimensions in BIM, we are only going to appoint people that can do that work. So we're not going to find ourselves in a situation where we started a project and then halfway through the architect throws their hands up and going, "Oh, I'm not doing BIM." It's like too late. It's in your contract. So in order to get over that point, all of the consultancy agreements that we're now issuing, whether it's for upcoming work, et cetera, we will put it in their contract. They have to do it. And yes, someone just popped up a question about training. We will then train them if they don't know how to do it properly. But it's not going to be an option whether they can opt in or opt out. If they commit to doing a project with us that is driven by BIM, they have to commit to delivering the models. If they need training, we'll provide the training. If they need support, we'll provide the support. If they need models, we'll provide some of the models to get them started. But they have to participate. This is not an opt-in, opt-out. If we're driving BIM on a project, everybody's doing it.
I see.
So when we did the MRT, all of the consultancy agreements, it was written into their contractual obligations that they had to perform in BIM. And we've been training them ever since. Right? But it's not a case of you can opt in or opt out. If you can't do it, you're not going to get on the job. And now the architects, particularly around Malaysia, are starting to realize that whether you want to work for Gamuda Land or any of our competitors, if you can't produce Revit models, you're not going to get any fees. So they're all starting to catch up. So the industry is moving forward, and more people are specifying it contractually that people have to participate in these kind of digital collaboration platforms.
I see. All right. Thank you, Ronan. You see, you said that this is the future. This is the way to go. You can't, live without technology. That is the future. Now, can you tell with more specifics how can are construction companies benefiting from this construction technologies?
So take the simplest example, right? So right now, there's an obligation on every contractor who wants to operate a construction site under the Ministry for Health requirements. You have to record the temperature and the health of the worker that comes onto your construction site, right? If you have any scale of a construction project, whether it's 15 people, 25 people, or 50 people, right? You have to record that temperature every time they come in and out of the site. Now, the old school way, you're going to have some guy stood there with a thermometer and a notebook, and you're going to have to record down every guy's name, his identification number, where he's been, what his temperature is, ask him a whole bunch of questions. And then you're going to have to write all that down. And you're going to have to do that for every guy that turns up on site. And if they're all turning up at the same time, you're going to have a queue of people outside your construction site that have to stand 1 meter to 2 meters apart, right? What we're looking at doing, and what other people are going to be looking at doing, and what all of the technology vendors are now chomping at the bit to start selling products for, is we want to automate that as quickly and make that as quick as possible. So we want to use a phone or an iPad, quickly identify the person using something like a QR code or a barcode. We don't have to worry about writing down all the names. It comes up automatically. And then we're using a thermometer to record the temperature. And then all of that gets recorded digitally. And under the Ministry for Health, we have to maintain 3 months of logs. If you're not using technology, how are you going to keep a track of all those bits of paper, all those different construction projects? Right? So that's the simplest example of using simple technology to record simple pieces of data. And then you go from there. So then you start looking at drones where you can start doing surveys and photographs. You can fly a drone over a site in 15, 20 minutes and record everything's happening on site. So you don't have to have someone going around in the site that has to be wearing PPE, has to have their temperature checked. You can operate a drone, do a survey far quicker. And the drones are cheap. You can buy one of these drones for a few thousand ringgit. We're not talking vast sums of money to do this, but it's having the right process and it's having the right people with the right level of enthusiasm to actually make it happen. And then enabling them to do it. Half of our challenge is finding the right people and enabling them to do the innovation. This is not something that you can push down on people from head office. All of these innovations are coming from the ground up, not from the top down.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ronan. Honky, do you have any further questions for Ronan?
Yes, I have. Ronan,
yeah.
In your opinion, where are we now? At what level in terms of the implementation of BIM technology in the construction industry compared to the rest of the world?
That's a loaded question for one simple reason. If I said to you that the MRT project was the benchmark for all of Malaysia, we would be standing head and shoulders above most countries on the planet. The reality of the situation is the MRT project is one project of thousands in Malaysia that vary from this kind of level of adoption of technology down to people using paper and pens. So, and it doesn't matter if you're stood in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Macau, in Kuwait, or in Doha, or in London, or in Belfast, or in New York, or in San Francisco. You will find exemplary projects around the world in specific locations, and you will find exemplary teams, and they will be the exception. So the grass is not greener on the other side. And what we're finding with these technologies is that it is up to organizations like MRT, like Gamuda, to push and lead from the front and effectively drag the industry up by its bootstraps into this world of digital technology and construction. And we've discovered over the last 2 years that the more simple you make it, the more people will adopt it. So that the digital forms have become viral and people want them in every project that we're setting up. They don't want to go back to doing paperwork because the advantages are vast. So we will continue to keep spreading the word. We'll continue to lift people, but Malaysia is no better or no worse than any of our neighbors. If we're put up against it, we won an award in Singapore against 3 projects from all around the world. The guys went off to the Tunneling Association and picked up an award competing with some of the biggest tunneling operations in the world. Malaysia can stand up and be proud and be seen to be a world leader. But when you look at, and we all know, when you look at the industry in Malaysia, it's not equal across the industry. There are leading lights and there are blackguards. And we all have to do our bit to bring everybody up and try and keep it improving. But Malaysia is no better or worse than any of our neighbors.
Impressive. Now I have a contract question, Ronan.
Okay.
The implementation of this construction technologies such as BIM and drones requires close collaboration and coordination among all levels in a construction project, right?
Correct.
So do you think the common standard forms of contract are currently widely used in Malaysia construction industry is ready for the implementation of these construction technologies?
No, not in the current form. And I am no expert when it comes to contract law or legal implications. The problem is that all of the contracts are written based on legacy systems, whether that's drawing-based systems, specification-based systems, etc., etc. In order for people to collaborate, they have to change their behaviors, they have to change their attitude, and they have to change the way they work. And it has to be done through the contract. So unless you can modify the form of contract and get people committed to these forms of working. But the other problem is that it's not just about the form of contract, it's also about the form of procurement. So the way that we procure jobs doesn't help. So most projects are procured based on a team of designers doing work, coming up with a bunch of drawings, which are not buildable, which then get sent out to industry for some pricing, where the pricing is then put in with risk and some people undercut it. And then the contractor starts the project and the design's still not complete. So the BIM on the underground has been successful because it's not that form of contract. The underground project is driven as a design and build contract where MMC Gamuda appointed ACOM and all the consultants as a design and build arrangement. And to be honest, it was a challenge because everybody in MMC Gamuda are used to performing in a normal construction project. They're not used to managing design consultants and managing design processes. So you have to change the contracts, you have to change the behavior, and you have to change to a collaborative form of contract. Because unless you change and get the contractors involved earlier, you can't get the benefits of these collaboration systems. Because let's be honest, every mechanical engineer, bless their hearts, most of them have no idea how to install ductwork, cable trays, or anything else. They know how to design them, they know how to specify them. They haven't got a first clue how they get built. And that's the problem in the industry, is that there's a lot of people in design offices who don't have practical experience and practical knowledge. And there's a lot of people on sites who curse and blast and give out about the designers, and the stuff still gets built. We need those two groups sitting around the table much earlier, solving problems much sooner before we actually get to site.
Thank you, Ronan. There's a real issue in that department. All right, we are coming to an end of our session today. Ronan, do you have any concluding remark you wish to make for our audience?
Not in the sense of what we've discussed. I just would, for those of you who are not aware, Honkit and myself and those in this call are all members of the Lighthouse Club, and we're currently running a campaign to raise money for construction workers who are desperately in need of basic food. So if you've not already come across our campaign, please look us up on LinkedIn, look us up on Facebook, and please support our cause. We're trying to raise money to feed construction workers who have no access to other safety nets in the industry, and this has been caused by the MCO and COVID-19. So on behalf of the Lighthouse Club, we would very much like your support, and thank you to L2 for organizing today. It is my pleasure to come and share some of our thoughts. And again, if you would like to find out more, or if you would like to see some more details, reach out to me either through LinkedIn, or you can find me directly out through the computer channels. So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Ronan, for such an insightful and interesting sharing with us today. It's our pleasure to have you. As a Malaysian, I'm really proud of what Gamuda has achieved in terms of these cutting-edge construction technologies. All right, on the screen is our 3 remaining sections. We have done 27 consecutive days. We are super grateful for that. And of course, the audience support means a lot to us. It's really a huge pleasure for all of us in L2 Construction. Thank you. Tomorrow, we'll have the topic of resolving disputes through mediation during the COVID-19 crisis. Then on Monday, we will have the long-awaited interview session with Professor Dato' Sundaraju. We are all looking forward to this, aren't we? And then on Tuesday is our L2 finale, which we will try our best to make it as much interesting as possible for our audience. We certainly hope you will be together with us finishing this remarkable L2 journey. That's the end of today's session. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Stay positive and progressive. Bye, everyone, and take care. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you, Ronan. Thank you, Loon.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.